Hello, Cush. How are you?
GM, I'm doing really well. I'm here in a beautiful island, so I can't complain.
I love that for you. Where are you?
I'm in Honduras, in an island called Roatan in the Caribbean. Really special.
Wow. Que lindo. Well, I hope you have a
Yes.
wonderful time. Thanks for taking the time to be here with me um, uh, and being a part of this new interview series for us. I'm really excited to chat with you, learn more about Odisea, learn more about you, and hopefully others can do the same. So to kick us off, maybe just a quick intro of like who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So I am Cush, and we run an innovation lab called Odisea, whose mission is to accelerate frontier technologies in Latin America. And we do this because we believe that we can leapfrog development and really transform the region by leveraging some of the most exciting sort of developments across crypto and AI and biotech and other frontier technologies. So we run a bunch of programs in order to make that happen. But that's in a nutshell how we do it and why we do it.
Amazing. But if you had to describe Odisea in one word, what word would you use?
Innovation.
Beautiful. What is like a part of your personal journey that led you to start Odisea?
I think one of the most important parts of my journey, and I shared this at Soju House, we were both in Denver together, was when I was a 9 year old kid, and my dad and I were sitting in his car, and two guys came up to either side of the car and put guns to our heads and told us to get out of the car, and then drove off with the car. And the next day, my dad went to the police station to report the crime. And who does he see in police uniform is the same two guys who the night prior had stolen our car. Yeah. And so like that from a super early age as a 9 year old kid immediately shattered my notion of like what statehood meant, what governments were meant to do, and really kind of instilled in me this like quest towards exploring and thinking about better ways of like structuring society. So I think that's like, I think we all do, or a lot of us do a lot of what we do in life because of like certain childhood traumas. Like maybe we were really neglected as kids, and therefore we like want fame, or maybe like our parents called us stupid, so we went on to the best universities. So I'd say that's probably like my seed for a lot of the work that we do is just thinking about like, hey, something's really wrong in the world. What can I do in order to change that?
Wow. I wasn't there when you told that story, but thank you for sharing. That is like really heavy to see as a child. But it's kind of beautiful that it's led you like on this trajectory to do good in the world, to then influence others to also stay on a positive route. Um, so interesting. Um, it kind of answers my next question, but maybe not. Maybe like as you got a little older and like got into like the crypto space or Web3, was there something specific that was like a this is it moment that inspired you to start Odisea, or like just made you say like this is the organization or company or collective that I want to build?
Yeah, I think Odisea conceptually has existed in my mind for a super long time, right? Like, and I got the opportunity throughout my career to explore different angles of that, right? So whether it was the creative arts, or whether it was the venture space, or whether it was building out a community, or whether it was technical education, um, really, or acceleration programs, like I've sort of had the chance because we basically like what we do, we start by generating like knowledge and insights and research, and that I got to draw on from my time being a researcher at Oxford. Then we do technical education programs, which I was built on top of this experience that I had building out these like healthcare education programs in Guatemala. And we do hackathons, which I got to do whilst I was building out the Ethereum Guatemala community. Acceleration programs, which I went through one of the best sort of accelerators in the world called Entrepreneur First. Um, Venture Studio and Developer Shop. We built out a bunch of products. Just like throughout my lifetime, I've always been a very kind of early stage entrepreneur in a lot of software development. Venture investing as well that we do. Worked a lot in the venture space, building out community of developers and just like incredible people. Got the chance to do that. The culture. I worked at a world's largest art project for charity. So like basically I went through all of our different programs we run and just like linked it back to my
Mm.
past experience. And I had like a really deep interest in all the different things that we do at Elisa, but always just thinking about like, how do I make this fit together? How do I make this fit together? And I spent so many nights at a whiteboard trying to like figure out how we make this happen.
Mm,
until we started what we did, right? And I was like, what do I call it? What is this? And I was like, it's an innovation lab. It's just like a petri dish for experiments and ways for us to figure out like better ways for humans to come together and to coordinate and create positive sum games, right? And like
mm.
that's sort of like the core of what we do. And like kind of my journey linked to that as well is I got the really unique opportunity to work across all these different fields and then be able to amalgamate all of that experience and express it in what we are today in Alicia.
Amazing. It's like everything in your life was literally preparing you so that Odisea could happen.
But that's like hopefully what everyone does, right? Is like everything, and it may like, and yeah, it just may not make sense to you like as you're going through this. Or you're sometimes like, because life is sort of that, right? You like bump up against something, you're like, oh, this is really cool, but like not exactly this for this reason. And then you do the other thing, you're like, oh, that's not
Mm,
exactly that for that reason. And like the notion of ikigai, right? I remember hearing about ikigai for ages, and it just never really resonated with me until you actually like find it. It's kind of like a koan, right? Like kind of these Zen sort of poems that don't really make sense until they make sense. And I feel like
mhm.
ikigai to some extent is that is like it doesn't make sense until you get there, and then it makes sense. But prior to that, it's sort of this like cloudy, mystical feeling or state of being until you're there. Like this is freaking cool. This is exactly what I want to
Yeah,
do.
1000%. Now, I mean, there's other accelerators out there, other venture studios. Why Odisea? Like, how is it different than everything else, and how does it fill a void um, that maybe any other venture studio does not?
Yeah, so the way we see it is we sort of I described to you like all the different programs we run, but really the way I think about it is we're literally just a bridge, right? We're a bridge between all of the resources and knowledge and capital that exist in North America and Europe and Asia. And then also like the use cases and the need for development and kind of the different applications of advanced technologies in Latin America. And we just sort of act as a bridge across the region, right? So I can confidently say that there are very few, if no others, groups like us that allow us to channel like all these different resources back and forth across these different spaces that exist in the world, right? So I think that's one of the really unique insights that we bring. Like we bring very deep sort of expertise on frontier technologies, but also really deep relationships on the Latin American market, right? And so, being able to really like explore that relationship and be able to leverage that for people that participate in our programs is really exciting. On the venture studio side of the house as well, it's like, hey, we think about like problem sets that exist here. How can we build globally applicable like products that sort of work well across the rest of society, basically, right? And so I think that's really like very unique, and that's what fundamentally where market opportunities lie is being able to find like problems that people have, things you're good at, and then things that you can sort of be able to share with the rest of the world that where people are actually able and willing to pay you. And I think that's really sort of our niche. It goes back to this whole notion of ikigai.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing that. Um, since we're on the topic of Latam, what is Latam ACC?
So LATAMAC is derived from the effective accelerationist movement, right? Which is really just this notion of like, hey, we need to accelerate the adoption and development of frontier technologies as quickly as possible, whilst being like effective and strategic with how we do that. Then there's like defensive accelerationism that says we need to, or DAC, right? It's like it's defensive, it's decentralized. And so LATAMAC is basically like, hey, how do we accelerate Latin America as much as possible whilst obviously being cognizant of like the social, economic, and environmental sort of context within which we sit in order for us to maximize what human flourishing looks like, right? And so it's this like really cool meme that like we were just able to kind of explore and share with the world. And now we just put it out there, and it seems like people really resonate with it because I also like this like if you know you know kind of thing. It's like, oh, you know about EAC, you know about DIAC, and you know about LATAMAC as well. So people love it. We've got these hats. We do like limited editions that we then like share at events, and it's fun. Like people are kind of like, hey, going up to you like, hey, I want the hat, da da da, and like sometimes you bump into people at an airport, they're like, nice hat, and so yeah, it's like if you know kind of thing, which is a fun thing to like little game that we get to play.
I didn't know it was limited edition.
Very
Amazing.
rare.
Very rare. So happy I have one. I'm a collector. So
Let's
this is
go.
great news. Okay, now I kind of want to like learn a little bit more about maybe challenges or learnings around Odisea. Because we always talk about highlights, but I'm sure like as a founder, there's like struggles that maybe most people don't see. Are there or anything that comes to your mind in which was like a defining high point, as well as possibly a moment of real struggle that helped you learn or like improve how you operate Odisea?
Yeah, I think we're a fully bootstrap business, so we haven't raised any capital. And generally, the way like innovation happens, it sort of happens in S curves, right? So you get like a big boom, and then you start plateauing and slowly decreasing, and then a big boom, and you start plateauing and slowly decreasing. So honestly, like I can really confidently say we're at like peak boom right now for us right now. But it's like if you're not careful, your organization slowly starts to like wane and sort of slowly fall down. And so every like the challenge for us is like, what is that next like injection for us that's gonna just like boost us entirely? Particularly when you're a bootstrap business, is you end up having to focus on, okay, what does the market really need today? What does the market need today? What does the market need today? If you're a venture backed business, you're oftentimes thinking about like where's the market going in the future, and therefore like how can I build something out that is like truly important for the future, right? Um, so I think that's like probably one of our biggest challenges is how do we balance, the need to sustain, a big team whilst also trying to push forward for innovation, right? And that's always been this like line that we tread back and forth.
Yeah, beautifully put. But I'm sure like with that too comes like aspects that most people don't see around like the day to day. What are some of like the hardest parts around maybe running the 14-person team or having multiple programs operating at the same time, that happen behind the scenes that we don't get to see?
Yeah, I mean, we do. So I have like hardcore ADD, right? And so, but I use it to like a strength in our work, right? Because we're able to operate sort of across these different dimensions. Because I and like other people in the team are able to think multilaterally across the programs that we run and see the relationships that exist. Because you're thinking about like, wait, they're doing technical education programs and they're doing an accelerator and they have a venture studio. And some people look at that, they're like, what the hell is this? You know, in reality, why we do that is because we believe, and again, it goes back to this notion of building an ecosystem. You're building a garden, basically, right? And so the way we think about it is like, when you want to build a garden, when you want to grow a garden, you don't just have like a hose. You don't just have the seeds. You don't just have like, a little pala. I don't know what the word is in English. Thing to dig out earth.
Shovel.
Shovel. There we go. Um, you need all of the ingredients in the kitchen, right? And like what we've seen is like no one really is able to like deliver on all the ingredients in the kitchen to make a beautiful dish or to grow a beautiful garden. So it's like the challenge for us is being able to run the kitchen efficiently. But the way we overcome it is I really love working with like high agency entrepreneurs, like people. I don't even consider them entrepreneurs because I want people to be able to take full ownership and really feel like everything they do at Elisa is like theirs and their product, their baby, because that really allows them to run with ideas. And Elisa says every time I like bring someone on the team, I'm like, what is your like dream in life? Like if you could do anything in life, like what would that be? And then be able to work with people such that like Oyster has a space where they can make that happen, and we just create the container and the environment for them to like flourish.
That's beautiful. What a great way to invest in people and not just hire, but truly give them like the opportunity to bloom from the opportunity you're providing.
Totally.
Um, how would you speak to Cush? Was he's like, it's like pre LLC time. You're thinking about Odisea. It's coming to life. Maybe day zero. If you could go back in time and talk to Cush, early times at Odisea, what would you say to him?
Yeah, I think the thing about our journey is like this idea of Elisa has been in my mind, as I said, for I don't know, probably like a decade now, to be honest. And every day I would sit down and I would journal and I would think about this damn project. And it was so hard for me to like, it's like, how does this all work together? I don't get it. And how am I going to live off of this? And really, it's just like, just trust in the universe, trust in your conviction. If I go back and I look at journals that, are like 10 years old, literally like all he says there, it's written out in a different way, but the idea is there. If I look back at like journals from 5 years ago, it's there. And I was like, I just want this thing to happen. Like, I don't see this existing anywhere else in the world. And I feel it's really valuable. So it's like, stick to your convictions, stick to what you believe in. And ultimately, like, that is where, yeah, your dreams come true, right? And like what you want out of life. Cause it's like, make your own damn dreams, right? And figure out like what you're looking for, because life is, at the end of the day, it's just like pretty pointless, right? And so construct that meaning for you, but like really connect with that meaning and really be able to kind of flourish and grow within that. So yeah, keep chasing your dreams, kid.
Keep chasing your dreams, kid. Beautifully put. I don't think life is pointless, but I get what you're saying. Like it doesn't have purpose unless you give it purpose, right? Otherwise, it's
Yeah,
just kind of monotonous day to day.
exactly.
Um, okay, well, you're pretty far along in your journey now. But like, what excites you? What gets you up in the morning? What keeps you pushing even on the hard days?
What gets me up in the morning is coffee. I love cappuccinos. I'm like an addict. But what excites me, I'm really inspired by like the evolution of nation states and what comes after nation states, because naturally we've seen like tribal villages come and go, we've seen monarchies come and go, so it's only natural that we'll see like
Mm,
nation states come and go, and it'll happen in our lifetime. And so really the way I think about it is like, well, what comes after the nation state, and how can we play a big role in ensuring that that transition to post nation state worlds, we play a critical role in, particularly in this region where nation states have by and large been vehicles to exclude people from economies, make sure people don't have access to like decent services and so forth. So it's always something I'm thinking about is like, cool, like how do we build better coordination platforms so people to have just like more success, to live more free, healthier lives, more educated livelihoods. And so that's really what gets me up in the morning, is the impact of hopefully reaching like millions and millions of people and
mm.
enhancing, lifespan and educational attainment and IQ and overall life satisfaction. So it's this like huge goal, but I think it's like that's precisely why we do everything we do, because we're really excited by that vision.
I love that. And what's next for Lisa? Where do you see it going in 5 years?
Whoa, that's a big question. um I couldn't fully tell you, to be honest. Like I think it's the kind of thing that like we are yet to see exactly where Alicia will evolve and grow towards. But I think it's I think it definitely falls in that line of this network society thesis and being able to
Mhm.
like fully create these kind of IRL spaces for us to connect and engage and really express what it means to be human.
Love it. You are creating a global network, so it only makes sense for you to be able to tap into
Yeah,
that and build something on it.
exactly. So
Um,
yeah, but
final
thank you.
Thank you. Final question before I let you go. If there was one thing that people can take away from this entire conversation, what is that one thing you want people to walk away with?
Have fun and be yourselves. Like I think it's yeah, that's what life is about. It's about sort of finding fulfillment, finding joy, and finding out who this like essence of you really is. And yeah, I don't know, just strive for excellence as well in everything that you do. I think it's one of the things that we sometimes become really complacent on is, oh
Mm,
god, like I'm just gonna do things at like 60%. But really there's like that like remaining 40% is so magical, even if you get to like sort of these upper like 80% thresholds. Like that is excellence doesn't mean 100%, but it's like really just push as much as you can, because that work gets expressed and like people recognize that and people really resonate with it. So that's one of our big goals.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thanks for taking the time. And until next time.
Thank you. Ciao.